And people look back on it and say, do you remember when this happened? Or you stuck a microphone in your mouth instead of the lollipop. Then it's funny.
He's not going to forget that.
No, I won't. I'll never forget that, Glendora. I mean, that kind of sticks with you. And if I were the person hiring you to do that commercial, I think I would have paid you double, because that's something that once you've done it, it kind of sticks in the back of your mind, and you can't release it. So it's almost like you did it on purpose.
Yeah. You say one of the funniest things, well, of course, to get the show on and off the air. That was about the funniest thing you could do.
Now, back then, were there a lot of support staff, cameramen,
Oh,
and managers?
good Lord, yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Now, when we went up to Balltown Road, you know where that is now?
Oh, I sure do, where they are now.
And we gave up the bowling alley down on the Mohawk River, and we went up to Balltown Road. In Satellite 6, there would be 3 cameras, and there would be 3 cameramen, and there would be a floor man, and then in the control booth, there was the director of the show, usually Hal Green or John Finch or Grant Van Patten, and also an audio man. So that's quite a lot of personnel, and then a prop man, a man who set up the commercials.
And they all had to work together because it was live.
Oh, it was live,
and
yes.
there was a lot of crossing of paths and potential nightmares, right?
Yeah.
Now, from SS Glendora, how many years did that run?
I was at WRGB from 1955 to 1962.
That's a long run.
Yeah, and we had enough people to fill Yankee Stadium. That's how big our audience was. It was about 57,000 homes.
Wow, that was quite a few for back then.
Oh, yeah. It was.
Yep.
Of course, WRGB was the pioneer in television. They were General Electric, and General Electric was in the business of making television sets, so you had to have something to watch on television because nobody's going to buy it if there's nothing to watch. Now, this is a funny thing. I would say, just before the war, they did have television sets, and they were little tiny 3-inch diameter sets, and you had a magnifying glass in front of the tube so you could see something. And these sets were distributed to General Electric executives. Well, the wife of a General Electric executive called up the experimental station then. It was not WRGB. And she said, my Bridge Club is coming. I know you televise on Mondays and Wednesdays, but my Bridge Club is coming Tuesday, and I'd like to have you televise on Tuesday. Now, isn't that funny?
That is.
What's funnier is that they did it.
Yeah. Since it was so new, everything was flexible.
Yeah.
It's not like today where everything gets put in the can and everything is pre-recorded and sent out at a specific time. Back then, in live, you really never knew what was going to happen.
And did you know, Bob Yeager, that in 1938, WRGB sent a television signal from Schenectady to Flushing, Queens, to the World's Fair, and people saw, for the first time in their lives, radio with pictures.
Wow. 1938.
That would be 1938. And they used as a signal, they wanted something that was delineated and black and white, and they used Felix the Cat.
Now, how did they do the signal?
Felix the Cat.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, too.
The wonderful, wonderful cat.
Yeah. Now, when they sent that signal, it had to be hardwired, right? From Schenectady down to the World's
I would
Fair.
think so, honey.
Yeah,
it would have to be cable all the way, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because microwave wasn't even around then.
No. But
So
they did.
That was a heck of a run.
Now, General Electric was in competition with Dumont, with Philco, and with Westinghouse.
I didn't know that. Now, do you remember Jim Fisk?
Oh, yes.
Now, he used to do Freddie Fry.
Freddie, yeah.
He used to do
Freddie
do a
Fryhofer.
squiggle, and he later became a big map person
Yes,
in
he
the
did.
Northeast.
Jim Mapco.
Yeah, so he went on from doing a television show into doing maps.
Now, I'm glad you brought up his name, because I want to give him due credit. He was the artist for the set for the SS Glendora.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob, that really looked like a ship.
Did it? Yeah.
And he did that, brush painted that. He was a great talent, Jim Fisk. And then he is the one who did the set for the Satellite 6, where he had the constellations where Porky Pig, Sylvester Cat. He was so gifted, that man, Jim Fisk.
And he was so kind and considerate of others. I remember watching some of the Freddie Freihoffer shows and some of the things he did with the kids and helped them to make the squiggles. For those of you who don't remember, yeah.
And I think while we're at it, we ought to mention some names for the folks to remember. Charlie King, Bob King, Petey Peterson, Freddie Saburo.
Now, what did some of these...
They were cameramen. Charlie
camera?
King was
Okay.
the production supervisor.
Okay.
And those that I just mentioned were cameramen.
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie Penniston was the prop man. I want to mention again the talent, Earl Pudney, in the After 6-7.
So he was on TV before he went to radio. Earl Pudney?
He was on radio before he went to TV?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he was because
Yeah.
I remember that name very well.
Yeah. Now, I'd like to mention Earl Jarris, who had a piano. He played the piano at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
And that was just televised.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And now they would have to go from Earl Jarris to Kathy, who did the cooking show, to Grant Van Patten, who did Trader Van. Grant Van Patten was an extremely astute talent.
Mm-hmm.
He was really good on the air. He was completely ad-lib, and he was very entertaining.
Now, after the SS Glendora, wasn't there another Navy guy that came on in the morning with Popeye the Sailor?
Oh, he was over on Channel 10.
That was Channel 10. So
Yeah.
they mimicked your show on Channel 10.
What'd you say?
They probably mimicked your show from your show over to Channel 10.
Oh, well, he did come later, yeah.
Yeah. Now, after 1962, when SS Glendora sailed for the final time, what did you do next? What are some of the things that you done?
After 1962,
Yes.
when I went to, I had always wanted a good relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have it. I was searching and searching and searching. Now I have it. Now I know what it was. Now I know where I was wrong not getting it.
Yeah.
But I went into that in 1962, and I did a children's Bible group in Buffalo, downtown Buffalo.
Call from Dixon.
And it was very interesting because the children were poor,
Mm-hmm.
and it was right in
Did you have
downtown
them-
Buffalo.
Oh, you were in Buffalo at the time?
Yeah, Buffalo.
Wow. How
Yeah.
did you ever get from Albany to Buffalo?
Oh, well, I always lived in Buffalo all the time I was on WRGB.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah,
And you just drove back
because
and
my
forth?
husband was a reporter for the Buffalo Evening News.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, now owned by Warren Buffett. And I get a retirement check from Warren Buffett every month. Isn't that lovely?
So after the children's show, what did you do next? I know that you've been involved in TV for so many years. What
Well-
are some of the other shows that you've done?
Well, honey, in 1970 came something called cable TV.
Oh, yes, I remember when that came in.
And they were claiming pie in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not real TV, and I was really a broadcast TV snob.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked down on cable TV. But my goodness, I saw public access starting. And I saw, well, this is a power.
Yeah.
This really has a tremendous appeal. And so I kept my foot in the door of public access TV, always staying, of course, in broadcast TV.
Mm-hmm.
The broadcast TV went to great heights. I did a 2-minute show of jokes live in New York City, Channel 5, on Metro Media before it was bought by Rupert Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
and it was the Bill Boggs Show, Midday Live. And I would come on there and tell 2 minutes of jokes live, Monday through Friday.
Or you remember some of the jokes you used to tell?
Have I got jokes to tell you?
No, the jokes back then. I'm not too sure about today's jokes, but back in the day when you were telling jokes on live TV, what are some of the jokes you used to tell?
Oh, yeah, well, this is good. Johnny, the teacher, said,
Yeah.
I think you cheated on the test. I think you copied the answers of the girl sitting across the aisle. The first question was, who was the first president of the United States? She wrote Washington and you wrote Washington. The second question was, who was the president during the Civil War? She wrote Lincoln and you wrote Lincoln. The third question was, who was president during the Louisiana Purchase? She wrote, I don't know, and you wrote, me neither.
That is kind of funny.
And the college president who was relieved of his responsibilities by the Board of Trustees, in his final speech before the board, he says, I leave this position the same way I entered it, fired with enthusiasm.
Now, weren't you interviewed on TV by some of the night personnel? Who interviewed you not too long ago?
Oh, David Letterman. That was fun.
You were on David Letterman.
Oh, yeah, that was so much fun, folks. He's really an interesting person.
Yeah. Did you get to talk to him for any length of time?
Oh, yes, the interview is 8 minutes. You ought to see it, folks. It's all over the place.
Is it?
It's really worthwhile seeing, yes.
Now, what are some of the questions he asked you?
Well, he says, are you the happiness lady? And I said, no. He says, well, what do they call you? And I said, Glendora. And no, you've got to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking with Glendora.
Yeah, well, the point I tried to get across to David Letterman was that there's something in this world you can do better than anybody else, David. And if you will go ahead and do it, you'll be happy. If you don't, it's going to nag at you the rest of your life.
How true. How true.
No, you really have got to see it. It doesn't do it justice or mercy.
Yeah, we're talking with Glendora, the early age of television, and a little bit of her history coming up through the years in early broadcasting. Now, what are some of the other shows that you have done? You did the SS Glendora.
Well, the Chat with Glendora, Public Access TV, is the longest running public access television show in the world.
And that was on just cable TV?
It started in Buffalo.
Okay.
And then it went to the state of Maine, Bangor. Then it went to Connecticut. And then it went to Glens Falls. And henceforth it's been in Westchester and all of these, Dutchess County, all of the counties here in this part of New York State.
What was the funnest time, the best time of your broadcasting career? When did you have the most fun in doing your show?
Every bit of it.
There wasn't one that really you thought more highly of than the other, or did you have fun doing it all?
Of course, WRGV, Sapino, of course.
Yeah, the SS Glendora.
It was great fun being a TV star. I mean, people went out of their way for you, but you know how much broadcasting is. You know how much fun it is.
Yeah.
The whole thing is fun.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it, folks?
It sure is. Now, one of the other things that I found amazing about you, talking about total entertainment, and you're a totally entertaining person. I mean, you're the only person I ever knew that dressed up to come in to do a radio show. And I went to see Glendora when I first saw her for Today, and she's in a bear costume. Now
polar bear.
You got to tell me why.
Tell you why?
Yeah.
That's just the costume that came up for the week, honey.
Oh, costume of the week.
I wear the same costume all week.
Yeah.
And that polar bear came up for this week.
Yeah.
And I've already done a show for Queens on it, and I've done a show for the, we do a 30-second show on Facebook. You've heard of the TV show 60 Minutes? Well,
Yes.
this show is called 30 Seconds.
30 seconds.
And it's a joke, and it's on Facebook every day.
Oh, okay.
And today, and this week it just happens to be.
The polar bear.
Last week it was the
When I first saw you...
Snowman. He's snowman, yeah.
Yeah, you were a snowman last week.
Yeah, excuse me.
So as the weather gets better, are you going to get into warmer costumes or warmer...
No, I don't. Oh, yeah, no. No, honey.
So in the wintertime, you're polar bear and, the colder animals. And as the weather gets nicer, you're going to be different characters. What are some of the different costumes you're going to be wearing in the future? Somebody sees you on the sidewalk.
Yes, definitely. There's always the hat.
Yeah.
And there's always the tie and the blazer. Mm-hmm. And that's, people remember that. And then that's, and Bob, Greg will tell you a couple times every week, weren't you on television back in when I was? And I say, I know exactly how old you are, 68. You're right! It happens every week.
Yeah. Well, it's so nice that you're able to share with us the history of broadcasting in the Albany area, but knowing that you actually came from Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you ever escape Buffalo? Weren't the roads always bad coming into Albany?
Well, I went by the train 40.
Oh, okay.
I went down Monday morning at 8 o'clock and then back by the New England States Friday night. Or the Ohio Limited.
So you took the train
Those were the
back
days when we had great trains, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember them stopping along the Mohawk Valley area.
That's right, honey.
Yeah.
Little Falls. We stopped at Herkimer.
Mm-hmm.
And we might have stopped at... No, we didn't stop at Herkimer. We stopped at Utica. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It would be Albany. Well, if it came up from Boston,
Okay.
or it could come up from Manhattan. And then it would be Albany and Utica and Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo.
Yeah. And that's just how they used to announce it, too.
Yeah.
Now, did you enjoy taking the train?
Yes, very much. I got to know all of the conductors.
Yeah.
And my husband was a reporter for the Buffalo Evening News, as I told you. And they wanted him to ride in the cab with John, the engineer.
Oh.
And we rode in the cab of that great, great big train.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Going whizzing across New York State.
Now,
They got on in Syracuse.
Mm-hmm. Now, that era, there used to be 3 and 4 tracks all the way across the state. Now they're down to 2.
Yeah, and they had the great big railroad stations that they all have torn down.
Yeah. Well,
Utica, Syracuse,
stations.
Rochester, Albany. Remember all those beautiful railroad stations?
Yeah. Now, we only have a few minutes left. This show just flew right by. How did you ever get into being a vegetarian?
The animals.
Animals.
The animals.
Yeah.
The animals are born into cruelty. Their lives and their freedoms is taken away from them.
Mm-hmm.
They are kicked and they are booted and they are clubbed and all they want is to be a little pet to you, just so like your cat or your dog. They just want to be a pet and be loved, and they're treated so horribly. And all the time on the farm, they're treated horribly and then put by electric prod into an open, carted, slatted thing and then taken to the slaughterhouse and killed. It just isn't right.
When did you become a vegetarian? What
1962.
year? So when you left the SS Glendora?
No, I was doing the SS Glendora at the time.
When you became a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Now, did they allow you back in those days to talk about your personal likes, like being a vegetarian on air?
Gosh, it never came up.
Oh, it didn't?
But did I do it? No, I didn't do it.
Okay, all right.
You know.
Sometimes they, some of the broadcasters today, they give them a little bit of flexibility and they can talk about what they want.
Really?
Did you have that flexibility, or was your show scripted? Did they tell you everything that you needed to do, or did you
No, they never talked to me about it at all.
No, it was all...
No, I said what came from my heart.
Okay.
It was okay with them, and I made $385 a week doing it.
Back then, that was a lot of money.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was a huge amount of money back in the 50s.
And I only had to work 45 minutes a day.
Wow. And when you came into town, did you stay any place specific? Or
I stayed right in Niskayuna, right next to WRGB.
Okay.
I stayed at the Green Farmhouse.
Was it a bed and breakfast?
No such thing in those days, Bob.
Yeah. So they just had a house that you stayed at?
Well, they lived there. That was their house.
Okay, all right.
And it was next to in fact, they sold some of their property to WRGP.
Yeah, I see the...
Oh, those were great days, honey.
Yeah. And the nice thing was that you could freelance everything. That you went in and you did the show, and whatever came to mind, you did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Kind of like Community Connection.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, our show isn't scripted at all either, and we just enjoy talking with everybody and having a leisurely conversation with our guests.
They call it editorial control, right?
That's what it is. Yeah.
And there was no such thing.
Yeah. So.
And there is no such thing on public access. In fact, it's against the law. You can get sued mightily if you try to exercise editorial control
Yeah.
in public access.
Now we only got a couple of minutes left. What's the last thing that you'd like to share with our listeners about your career in television?
This is it, folks.
Mm-hmm.
After all is said and done, the only thing that matters is how you treated others.
And that's it. How you treat others. And hopefully they treat you as well, too. Right? Glendora, I want to thank you for being on Community Connection and sharing with us the story about the SS Glendora.
Thank you.
All right. I got to do that over.
Would you come out at 28:30?
Yeah.
Hmm?
$28.30. Yep. I got to catch the end of this.
You are listening to RIDE, WMHT's radio information service for the print disabled.
All right, I got to take that out.
Glendora.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take that out. Oops.
You are listening to RIDE, WMHT's radio information service for the print disabled.
Got to do it this the right way here. There we go. Okay. Just got to finish up on the tail end of the show.
What a lovely building.
Sorry.
What a lovely plant.
Well, Glendora,
Yeah, I was going to put my name on the board.
I'm going to go in here for a minute.
All right. So.
Okay, Greg?
Okay,
Do
sure.
you have to go to the restroom, Glendora?
No, thank you, dear.
I'll be right out.
Okay.
All right. So.
JVC, you have a new brother. Hey, you have a new brother. Came in the mail today. Yeah. We'll look him all over. Okay.